On. Okay, most of you know about Beyond the Game Academy, but some of you don't. I know some of you, you mentioned this is your first webinar that you've been a part of, so welcome. And I'd like to share with you kind of what Beyond the Game Academy is, just briefly. And our mission is really to help transform athletes, coaches, parents, and even we're now entering the corporate world, but anybody who might be struggling with confidence, struggling with loss and some failures, those life obstacles, and we try to empower them and build confidence and help them become more self-assured. And it has been a fantastic journey. And we've just, through this webinar series, we've had so many new family members and friends join us, learn about Beyond the Game Academy. And it's just been a really cool experience for us. But I can't think of a better example for us to learn from than Sarah Apgar, our guest tonight, who has been through the trenches. She has overcome tremendous obstacles and now thriving and striving and doing incredible things to give back to communities really all over the country and the world. Sarah is the founder and CEO of the FitFighter, which she will share with you what that is and how that works. And I actually have my FitFighter right here that I work out with every single day. And I'm so excited to have one. You will want one too, I promise. But she also, Sarah and the FitFighter has been featured on ABC News. She's been on the Today Show, the ESPN Women's Sports Summit. She is a Princeton grad. She is also, she has her MBA from Dartmouth. She's an Army and Iraq veteran, an All-American athlete in rugby, a volunteer firefighter EMT, certified fitness professional, a keynote speaker. Hold on one second.
Like she's my mom and dad are on.
That was my mother. Mother, I could hear you. You were on. You just came off mute. She's a volunteer firefighter, EMT, a certified fitness professional, a keynote speaker, and a proud mom of two. Now that I can breathe again, she is a total underachiever and she has all the time in the world to be with us tonight. Not really. She is an amazing person. Colleen and I both admire her so very much, and we're just absolutely thrilled to have you, Sarah, with us this evening, sharing your wealth of knowledge and experience. So just thank you so much for being here and taking the time to spend with us this evening. I'm going to let you take over from here.
Fantastic. Okay, so hi everyone. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Missy West, legendary, of course, in her own life, and I'm so thrilled and honored and humbled to be here with you guys to talk about a subject which is really near and dear to me, which is overcoming obstacles and feeling ready to react for whatever is coming at us every day, our everyday demands. That is the spirit of FitFighter. It's been a thread of my careers in public service, in business, as an athlete. And so the spirit of that is really what I want to talk with you guys tonight about. So I'm going to come in and out of the slides because I hate the idea that I'm like a tiny little person on your screen. And so, I'm going to kind of come in and out. I'll show a couple pictures and then tell a story. Then I'm going to leave you guys with some basic principles, some nuggets to take with you after today, so you can go forth literally tonight, tomorrow, and shift your mindset a bit, change the way that you think about your opportunities every day to be ready to react, to overcome obstacles and challenges, and as athletes and as people. So I'm going to get started, and this is just this is sort of three hats of Sarah now, and there's many more hats. There's one big one that's missing, is that I'm a mom of two baby girls, which Missy mentioned. And so I want to start actually in the present day. Missy kind of gave the rap sheet on a lot of the things that I've done in my life, and you're going to hear stories about those as I walk through about a 20 to 25 minute just talk with you guys. And then I'd like to spend the rest of the time really fielding questions and having an engaged conversation. So this story brings us to the present day. What you're looking at here is a picture of my friend Wayne Geno, who's a firefighter in Huntington, New York, where I'm from, and where I've lived when I started in the fire service, and where I'm from now, my home now, Long Island, originally from Baltimore. And what Wayne has in his hands is the very first prototype of the steel hose, which is the signature FitFighter product, piece of fitness equipment that originated to train firefighters for the rigors of their job. And he is literally has the very first prototype we ever made, which was about a 25-foot long section of real fire hose off the trucks with an eyelet in the end and stuffed with alpine sand so that we could train a skill required for the fire ground. And actually the steel hose, so I'm going to sort of come back out of this share now so we can be together. Let's see, now I should be, okay, you guys should be able to see me now. Oops, wait a minute. Is that right? Yeah. We go like this. Okay. So this is actually the present day steel hose, which some of you guys I can see who are on with us actually are using now in your own lives, your own training every day. The eyelet has become a grommet. That duct tape and hose clamp has become beautiful stitching with nylon end caps. And what was a stencil has become a beautifully heat pressed logo of the company that I now run. And so the lesson that I want to share with you guys, which kicks off this talk, is about being the most curious person that you know. I want you to think about sinking your teeth in, and not just sinking your teeth in, but all the way in. Being someone who is curious and always asks the next question that you didn't think that you had. The reason the steel hose is such an incredible example of that is because actually I spent about 18 months over time when we initially came up with the idea that we could have a simple tool to train every skill on the fire ground, and then take that tool and make it something, adapt it to be something that we could use in settings from living rooms and basements to athletic fields that you guys play on, to the basketball court at the University of Texas, to the boutique gym, the CrossFit, and with your families now today at home in this unusual scenario we find ourselves in as young athletes, as parents and professionals. And the story of the steel hose is a story about persistence and being curious. What I forgot to bring was this amazing box that I have of about 22 to 25 different materials that I put into this piece of equipment when I was kind of doing my science experiment about what was going to mimic the skills that I wanted to train, which was grip strength, handling a fire hose, mimicking that high pressure situation in the fire ground that is truly about not fitness for a job, not fitness for duty or for sport, but readiness. Practicing readiness, which involves not only the body, but the mind, the spirit, and the emotions. And to be curious, to ask questions, is going to enable you to think of new skills that you want to learn, that you can learn, that are going to make you better at what you're doing. And they're going to make you better at what you're making. In my case, what I was inventing and creating from scratch out of an idea. So my big, I'll see if I can sort of seamlessly go in and out of this. And if not, I'll just leave some of these slides out. But being the most curious person that you know is what I want to leave you guys with in this very first lesson, which is sort of a present day lesson over the past 5 years of developing the company that's now FitFighter, that serves trainers, coaches, gyms, professional athletes, young athletes, amateur athletes, colleges, and the home fitness community. All right, so next photo I want to bring to you, next story I want to bring to you guys is a story about when I as a 22-year-old left college. So now we're sort of backtracking a little bit in my life to about 18 years ago. I'll be 40 in June. And this is a story about when I arrived at Fort Carson, Colorado, having trained for 6 months to be in the Army Engineer Corps, having been in ROTC in college at Princeton as an undergraduate, and suddenly thrust in front of 35 men and women who were responsible for the reconstruction of northern Iraq and Mosul. 3 weeks after I arrived at that Fort Carson, Colorado station, I was on my way to Kuwait City to take over this platoon of people who I'd never met, half of whom were my senior. what we call subordinate leaders in the Army, leaders who support me as a platoon leader. And these people were 10, 15, 20 years older than me with expertise and experience far beyond what I ever could have imagined. And I remember the first moment that I stood in front of them and thought to myself, the only way to imagine sort of the next step in our relationship for us to be successful as a team is for me to build a trust and respect with this team. And when we broke that first meeting and we had said sort of our pleasantries, I had introduced myself as their new platoon leader. I had a squad leader come up to me and he said the following words. He said, "You know, LT, which means lieutenant, I hate to break this to you, but we were really hoping for a dude." And those words to this new platoon leader, just out of training, trying my darndest to establish the best possible rapport and begin immediately building a positive relationship with that squad leader, those were the words that came out of his mouth. And the lesson here, to really fast forward, because these stories could go on for hours and hours, each of them in their own right, is about really putting yourself in someone else's shoes. And overcoming obstacles is often about putting yourself in someone else's shoes and understanding the perspective from which they're coming. And if you can do that every time, before you take a moment, before you react, take a moment to take that step. A lot of times it diffuses what feels otherwise like a setting that is almost impossible to overcome, which is, how could this squad leader of mine who I've just met, who doesn't even know me, have placed such a judgment based on what I thought involved gender? And it turned out in the end that it actually really didn't. It was about the lack of respect and trust that they had had with a previous long gone platoon leader and a leader who was responsible for them and their well-being and their mission, who they found that they had a broken trust with in a setting that was very high pressure, very high stakes, and truly life or death. The second thing, so putting yourself in your shoes is really sort of the first Army lesson, that I learned early on about overcoming obstacles and steps to take. And the second and third things are really about just a reminder for you guys. I want to tell you about an experience that I had that's connected to that Army era, because this is sort of that part of the storytelling. And that is that I lost a soldier who was 19 years old when I was about 3 months into that deployment. And I will forever spend my life working to honor the memory of that soldier. And when I think about everything I do now day to day, and when I think about the work that I do and the mission that we have every day to do our best and to care for other people and to be part of teams and accomplish big things, what I want you to remember is that you've done hard things before. And when you did that hard thing, you probably set a milestone to achieve it. And for me, in overcoming the experience of losing a soldier at such a young age, who was very close to my age, and what I now carry with me almost 20 years, 2 decades later, is I have to remember that experience of coming from that moment, leading my team through that, maintaining their trust and respect, getting through that mission, and then carrying on through all of the other professional and personal challenges that I've now had and experiences. I have to remember that that's the hardest thing that I've ever done, is experiencing that moment and having to react and overcome it. And what I've always thought about is setting small milestones that help you achieve getting from A to B. Remembering you've done hard things and setting milestones to achieve hard things in the future. When something feels hard, just remember you've done it before. There's been something hard that you overcame and you're able to get beyond it. And it's because you were able to put one foot in front of the other. All right. So now jumping back again, now we're at present day. And so this slide, I'll show you this, and then I'm going to sort of back up again so that we can see each other a little bit better. So this slide on the left, you guys are seeing my two baby girls, Emery and Arlen. Emery's on the left of that photo, Arlen's on the right. This is when I went to their school and did a talk with their school about being a soldier and the job of a soldier. These girls are my world now. And on the right-hand side is something I'm going to share with you guys afterwards. Make sure you get this by email because it's an exercise that I want you to do. And that is that I want you to write down on paper the people you consider to be in your village. Because in your village is your backstop. Your village could be your family, your immediate family. It could be your immediate friends. It can also be mentors. It could be people that you don't even know that well, but you feel like they inspire you and they're there for you. Something about them is there for you when you're overcoming your obstacles. And it's critical that you write down on paper who those people are. I can tell you the initials of each one of these people on the right-hand side in those little houses and who they are and what they mean to me and how they're important in overcoming obstacles and staying ready for whatever comes at us. And then I have this house underneath, which is remembering that we have this backstop and then we have this beautiful brain, and that's like our roof. And then we have our house. And in the house is our heart, which is our belief and our values. And then we have our breath, which is in our lungs and makes our body move and keeps us going and gives us energy. And then we have our balance. Our balance is our physical balance, but also our spiritual and emotional balance. And so I'm going to have you guys do this exercise after because we won't have time to do it during the presentation, but I want you to do this, and it's your readiness exercise from me. It's so that you shift your mindset from feeling like, rather than being fit and strong, you're going to be ready. And that goes way beyond that house, that body. That goes into your roof, that beautiful brain, and out to your village, your backstop, because we are nothing without that. So I want you to do that exercise. On the left, I'm showing you that because, of course, my girls are now at the very foundation of being in my village, and they're extremely important to me in the hardest of times. I want you to know your village and nurture that team. I'm going to come out, sort of stop sharing for 1 second here. Oopsies, let's see. How do I do that? Sorry, guys. Now I'm trying to unshare myself. Oh, there we go. Stop share. Okay, perfect. Great. So hopefully you can see me big again now. So, you know, one thing that I want to tell you guys as sort of in periphery to this comment about this lesson about your village and your backstop is that right now in particular, when we're not with, or in the off season, when we're not with our team, when we're not with that village, a lot of times it's hard for us to sort of in the abstract remember that actually they're all around us. Even when we're not together in that huddle as a team, on the rugby field, on the basketball court, with our hands in on top of each other. If you could see me right now, guys, and we were in person, maybe you can see my little hairs. Do you guys see? I have goosebumps because those moments when we're in that huddle, they give us goosebumps because we're surrounded by our team. It's the nerves of playing, but it's really about the fact that we're about to do something huge as a team. We can create that even when we're at home, even when we're in the abstract. You can envision and remember and have pictures of those people in your little village and your little boxes and your houses, and check in with them on your text or your group me or whatever, your Instagram or whatever you do. And if they're in a little house, in a little box for you, it's going to be something extra special. It's not going to be like the other people you're sort of flipping through or you're maybe checking in on, whatever. It's an extra special person for you. And that's what your team is. And you keep that with you even when we're dispersed and we're distant. All right, my last story, guys, comes back to the present day again. So I'm going to share with you my photos. I could probably leave this up and do a better, more seamless job of this. Here we go. So I have two photos for you. These are recent, back in October. One is with the San Diego Fire Academy, doing a training with my partner in FitFighter, Devin Wiggins, who's there in black. next to me. And I'm working with the San Diego Fire Rescue Academy on their training, their skills training. We're using our equipment, and I brought them together in a huddle. And every workout that I do, I start with this moment of silence because I want everyone to remember that you're not working just for yourself. You're always working and staying strong and fit and ready for someone else too. And right now, there's a lot of people that need us. We have teammates that need us. We have teams that need us if you're a coach. We have family members. And so staying strong and fit is about us, but it's really about them too. We have to take care of ourselves and we have to take care of them. So we start always with a moment of silence. And this was a very beautiful experience for me because it was a real culmination for me of this time spent over the past 5 years building and developing FitFighter, the spirit of public service for which we exist, the teams that we support, like this team at San Diego Fire Academy. And then this picture, in contrast, was 3 days later. And here I am now on a stage with a microphone at the ESPN Women Sports Summit and my sweet aviator shades. And it's a whole different kind of team. Here, I'm now supporting women who are at a conference, who have come to work out in the morning. We started with the same moment of silence, and I brought to them the rock concert of fitness. The same FitFighter workouts and the same equipment and the same spirit of public service and working for ourselves and others, but in this vastly different context. But we're all closer than we think. We're connected by these same roots. So that was very special for me. And the lesson that comes from those two photos is about dreams coming true. And it's about right now, at home, even at a distance, sharing your gifts. Dreams come true when you share your gifts with other people. And that those two photos are the culmination of this dream that started for me by accident 5 years ago and has become something that I've been able to bring to the world with the help of that village and those very special partners. So I want you guys, in summary, I've placed my recipe with these 5 ideas that I want you to practice. And I want you to think of it as practicing readiness, just like you practice your sport. And these are ideas that you should write down on a little sheet of paper. You should always keep with you every day, everything you do. I want you to be curious because you're going to learn new skills that way. You're going to learn new things. Maybe it's playing Frisbee because you've never played Frisbee. You've never been able to throw a Frisbee. And that's going to help you be a better basketball player because that hand-eye coordination when that Frisbee comes at you. I want you to set milestones. I want them to be long, short, and near. A year out, a month out, and a day out. Set a milestone for yourself. Create moments to react to every day. This one was not explicit in my presentation. We kind of skipped over it. But it's explicit in the lessons. And creating moments is about creating what you have on the athletic field as an athlete or as a professional or as a mom in my case, where you have to react. And you want to be confident that your body and your mind and your spirit and your emotions are as best prepared as they can be to react. And believe you me, we've got my mom on the presentation here. I'm not always the best at that. I'm still a mom of toddlers too, and I do my best. And sometimes, we don't react the way that we wish we would, but we have to create the moments to react. So that might mean going to find your mom and being like, Mom, can you take this whistle and this stopwatch? And I'm going to go out here to the parking lot and you're going to time me running this suicide on parking lot spaces. And I'm going to react to that whistle. And I'm going to take off to that whistle today. That's the moment I'm going to react. It's that simple. Because you have to create what you're going to have when you're out there in the world at those big moments. And no big moment is the same. Nurture your team from a distance. We talked about that, and share your unique gifts. Guys, you all have them, and I want you to know what those superpowers are and be confident in those, and that that's something that you have to share with the world, and you need to be sharing them all the time, especially now. So before we close, let me just check my time. Perfect. So before I close my presentation, I want you guys to grab a sheet of paper. We're just going to take a couple minutes, and then I'm going to take questions and have conversation. We're going to do this exercise, and then we're going to do a readiness cheer before we go to convo and chats. I want you to write these things down. One new skill you can learn this week. One goal you can set for next month. Doesn't have to be big. Like, I want to learn how to bake a pie, guys. Okay? Let's just start small with this. One moment you can react to tomorrow, a moment you can create. 5 members of your village, and 1 unique gift you have. And these are going to serve as a jump start for you to keep this recipe close by for your everyday readiness. Let's take a couple minutes. I'll just be quiet for a moment, and let's do that exercise together. All right, I'm going to let you guys finish that up as we go, and finish it up afterwards if you haven't. And I'm going to get you that readiness framework with your village. And I've got my sweet girls in the background. And I'm going to stop sharing. So reach out. I'm here. This information Missy is going to send afterwards in an email. And so that you'll have all of this and ways you can connect with me ongoing. You're now in my FitFighter family for having joined us here. So let me stop my share, and I think we'll take some questions. I do have some questions here. Missy, should I start with those questions that I have in advance from our listeners?
Yeah, I mean, if you want me to go ahead and ask some of them to you, I can do that, and then you can fire away.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, awesome. So one of the big ones Emma wrote in, Emma, thank you for your question. When you're approaching an obstacle, and you've had a lot of them in your life, probably as an athlete in high school, in the Army, certainly as an entrepreneur, how do you go about handling it when you know there's an obstacle that you're faced with? What's your mindset? What's your thought process? How do you attack that obstacle?
Yeah. Yeah. And I know Emma asked about tips and tricks too for rituals, calming your nerves. Yeah. And so, so that's really what it's about, Emma, is I think, those two ideas are connected: overcoming obstacles and tips and tricks for the field, and sort of, before games and so on. So, what I talked about in my presentation, I'll sort of build off of that idea of setting a milestone, because a milestone doesn't necessarily mean like a big goal. A milestone, like some huge mountain to climb. Like a milestone could also be that to overcome that obstacle, you're going to pick 3 steps that you can take, that you can think of to help you solve that problem. And it could be 3 really simple steps. Like if it's a math problem, you can be like, okay, I'm going to break down this problem into 3 different parts. And I'm just going to try to tackle the first part and think of something that I know in this first part. You have to break down the problem, break down the obstacle, into challenges that you can start to just make progress on.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason that's connected with milestones is sometimes I think we think like, oh, there's this lofty goal, dream, horizon, but that's why we think of it as long, short, and then near. You're going to accomplish the long by creating the near and building your confidence through doing those things to get there. Tips and tricks. Yeah, I have rituals. I'm going to do one at the end with you guys before we go. You know, and I think that is also about consistency. So as an athlete, you know, I always, before games, I would always do that. Close your eyes, think about practice, think about the skills that you know you're going to have to do in your game, be with your body and your mind. In the case of being a fullback on the rugby field, I'm always having to like catch and bring in my ball all the time, be with my body, remember how strong I am, and really be with yourself. That was sort of my biggest ritual. And then you're going to get in that huddle with your team and feel the power of your team around you. And then you become this unstoppable force.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think of, you know, Emma, that's a great question. As far as the rituals go, you know, even for me, very similar to you actually, but I used to take, so before a game, we would have a spaghetti dinner with our team. This is in high school, right? We would go to our middle school parking lot. We would park our cars in a circle and we'd put headlights all flashing to the middle and we'd have a huge dance party because it's just fun, right? And it helps, because one of her things, well, how do you help with nerves, right? You get anxious for the competition or for an obstacle, like how do you kind of relieve that? And that's what we did with our high school team, is we would literally just have like this huge dance party. But I would also, a big thing that I did in college, we also had the dance party in our locker rooms, but take a hot shower. And just like you said, kind of be present and kind of like replay how this game could possibly go, what's my role in this game, and kind of talk my mind through that and build myself up, knowing that if I did turn the ball over, if there were obstacles that came, that I could handle them. And I talked, you know, Colleen and I talk a lot about at Beyond the Game is visualizing. And I know you do a lot of that, right? I also, you know, when you said you're approaching obstacles, you're exactly right. And I think when we look at a challenge, we get caught making it so much bigger than what it really is. And if we can just zone in on the little things and just take one step in front of the other, right? Make the big thing into a really small thing. And progress is something I heard the other day that, you know, every day, even during quarantine, we should be doing everything that we can to get 1% better. Right? If you get 1% better every single day over a span of 30 days, that's 30% better that you're getting at. But we want to jump in and be 100% right now, right? And it's not about that. Just like you said, it's about bringing it to 1%.
Yeah, love that.
Really?
Love that. Can I do this, address this one about parents?
Yes.
We have parents.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because that's near and dear to my heart. I mean, juggling time. So somebody asked ahead of time.
Yeah, Bree, thank you for your question. Yeah.
How you juggle your time. And this one's near and dear to me because I come from an environment in my background that is very weighted towards, you know, the all-in professional. And the definition that's taken on is like, I spend 17 hours a day, you know, being a professional and like doing my thing. And there's this like huge trade-off, you know, with my family. And I have been very diligent about, from the beginning, saying to my teams that I've worked with and that I'm a part of, that my family and my girls do come first and are on a priority level for me of anything that happens in my work. And, you know, that is something that is a constant difficult, you know, sort of just slog. it's unfortunately, I don't have like the golden ticket on this, but I do have that you should stick to your guns, because there's people like me out there who are supporting you, you know, in that effort, in that cause. And it's critical that we do that. And moms and dads make that, you know, make that something that is, you know, a priority. Now it's harder than ever, like at home juggling kids and professional life. And so it's now is a tricky time to be talking about this, because in some ways we don't have a lot of choice around like childcare. But in general, so my schedule is that I spend 5:30 to 8:30 a.m. with my girls. And then I spend 8:30 to 5:30, best I can right now, of course, working on my company, my professional work. I take Tuesday mornings to do circle time with the girls. And then 5:30 to 8, I'm with them again. I put them to bed and do dinner. And then I work again in the evening from like 8:30 to 10. And some people might say like, oh, that's crazy. But actually it's more just creating what works for you and like the flexibility that is important for you. And we have got to keep pounding away at the importance of that, because times like these where now like it's all about family and it's all about us understanding each other. And that juggle it's critical that everybody's appreciating what that is, and that is real, and it's more real for some people than others. And we need to move as a community of professionals and parents more in that direction, because our entire community of kids and young people, teenagers, is suffering because we've got an imbalance with that. And I always say to people, you know, if I failed professionally on something, or my company failed because I committed to my girls, you know, in some way, like that's something I'm willing to live with. So that's my very like heartfelt, sort of passionate response to that question.
Yeah, and you know, many people don't know that Sarah's husband also is a surgeon in the Bronx, correct? And he's front lines dealing with COVID-19 every single day. So you have that as well, you know, him coming and going and balancing that. And I got to imagine that, you know, adds to the challenge of everything that you're doing with your business and with the you know, the two girls. So yeah, it's amazing what you do. And as you continue to build, you know, this FitFighter company that is impacting really people across the world, it's been very amazing and motivating to kind of watch how you work. We did just get a question come in. I don't know if you saw it on the chat. One was from actually my brother, Ben wrote in. He said, first, thank you for your service. He actually is a bailiff at the local county court and went through, I think, the police academy, maybe, Ben, I'm not sure. But anyway, so he's, you know, family. But he asked, you know, what are some of the biggest hurdles that you've had to overcome as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so the first, I would say I'm going to sort of offer three, because we could have this conversation, Ben, offline.
Right.
Also for hours, like we need like another 10 webinars. So I'm going to pluck out three. The first one I would say is just that the real issue of being real about your personal circumstances, financially and personally, and what those stakes are around becoming an entrepreneur and starting your own thing and taking that risk. And then the follow on to that, the capital that you need to start a business, and effectively evaluating what that is. And the money side of things is real with entrepreneur. I mean, I think people see like overnight success, what appear to be overnight successes. Mm-hmm. And, you know, they think that it was sort of all, you know, like yellow brick road. And, you know, I'm here to tell you that like constantly every day now we're still struggling with capital, and we're backtracking now that we're in COVID-19 land, needing to invest in things that we didn't before. Business has become more expensive to operate my factory because I have standard operating procedures that are new. And so the question of capital on a personal and professional level, what's at stake for you, personally and with your family, being really having clarity around that with you and your partner, if you have one. And then the clarity around, what is it going to take? And I can almost guarantee that it's going to be more than you think because to start anything. And so that's the first big one. I would say the second one is creating your, being alone at first and creating that inner circle around you. So even if you started with a co-founder, if it's you and your co-founder, like you're not a part of like a big lumbering organization with a big support network. And that's why that whole village thing has become such a massive thing for me. You've got to create that inner circle and just put people at the table, even if they're not exactly the right people, sort of build that support around you. I found I felt alone a lot. Like people are really surprised when I say that like I have a lot of times where I feel really alone. I'll have like a tough morning with my girls. I'm feeling like depressed about like trying to mother and be a professional. And then I'm like alone at the factory because like everyone is, my team is all over the place. And like, that's really hard. And so to try to put tactics in place to overcome that, some of which I talked about today. And then the third thing I would say is pivoting and adapting, being really agile. I mean, this is a perfect example. Like FitFighter was serving, as of 5 weeks ago, our core market was to serve trainers, gyms, coaches, teams, in sort of more of a business to business model. All of a sudden, we have this responsibility to keep, firefighters trained at home because firehouse gyms are closed and they use our equipment. And we have to keep people strong at home who don't have good training and can't go to the gym anymore, and provide personal trainers with great tools to do online training. And we've reinvented the company within a matter of, a week to now provide home fitness tools and, training. So, and we'll see where that goes now going forward. We're talking at a really fascinating time, like in the company's trajectory.
So let me ask you, because the next question is from Katie. Katie, thank you for asking. You just shared those really challenging moments, right? Where, we've all been benched. That's why, how can we still, nail the 3 from the bench? And so you just, shared 3 real struggles that are happening to you right now. And Katie asked, how do you stay motivated? When you continue to get knocked on your can time and time again, how do you continue to get back up? You feel alone. I talk about that, with me building Beyond the Game, where there's moments where I just feel like, I just feel lonely about it. And am I making the right decisions? Am I doing the right things? Am I, and you're clearly going through that. So what continues to, have you rise and shine and, keep putting one foot in front of the other?
Yeah. I love this question. Do you see my hair again?
Yeah.
Because, now we're getting into the meat of things. I know we have like 10 minutes left, but now we're really getting into the good stuff because, this, like, in the end of the day, if we don't get up in the morning and figure out a way to keep going on and keep moving and keep being productive and take these 5 steps and, execute, then we're gonna spiral. We're gonna spiral downward. We're not gonna be successful as athletes, as people. So I'm gonna lean on 2 things that I've already talked a little about, but I'll put them like in the context of this and try to be as specific as possible. And by the way, like this moment right now where we're getting to talk about this and this issue, and I'm having an opportunity to come here and be with you guys, is actually a very, like, a deeply implicit part of my first part of the answer to this question, which is putting yourself in situations and with people that are going to enable you to share those unique gifts, and they're going to energize you. You have got to surround yourself with those people and those moments and opportunities where you can share something with someone. And whether that's like, sharing something with your kid, being able to teach them something, whether that is just like your friend, like making sure you're having like a group of friends, like FaceTiming on Friday night, you know, with a glass of wine or whatever. If that's writing, like I've been writing LinkedIn articles, like self-publishing LinkedIn articles. I have no idea if anybody wants to read this stuff, you know, but I'm like, I'm going to write this LinkedIn article about this cool event I did with FitFighter and about my recipe for, you know, sort of building a team. And there'll be like 7 people that'll like read this thing, you know, that like say like, and you're like, okay, but like I got that out there and I love that you can search now and you can find that. And I'm like, cool, I wrote it and 7 people thought that was cool. And now we're here, like coming together and having this conversation, you know, about like, you know, what are your unique gifts? And so my superpower and energy and optimism is one of my superpowers. Idea creation, innovation, invention is another one. That tinkering, that curiosity. That's another one of my superpowers. Dance parties with my girls, like to Frozen, total superpower. I'm really strong on my upper body, so I can toss my girls in the air. So you got to create those moments every single day where you're sharing a gift with someone, whatever that is, who appreciates it or who you don't even know is appreciating it, but you can put it out there so they can find it later. And that's the first, you know, that's like sort of the first core part of my answer is, you know, to really do that. And then the second one is to, you know, make sure that you are nurturing your mind, body, spirit. You've got to get that workout, those endorphins. You've got to get that, you know, every day or every other day. Get that workout in and then do some breathing at the end of it. And then take that moment of silence, you know, that I talked about, like appreciation for your spirit, your emotions. That's the second big thing, is taking care of yourself. And by the way, it doesn't have to be every day. People like I work out usually like 4 days a week, hard workouts. And I take a lot of days off, like just a long walk. That like shocks people because I run like a firefighter inspired fitness company. But I'm going to be 40 in June. So I take, you know, I like just chill and then have awesome hard workouts that keep that, you know, keep you taken care of. So you know, making those choices in the morning that you're going to actively seek those things out and make sure those are a part of your day. That's the choice you do have to make. And that you can make all the time so that, you know, you're always fueled and you've got fuel.
Right. It's, you know, so Colleen was on 2 weeks ago and her whole webinar was connection and gratitude. And everything that you just talked about was that connection piece, right? Making sure you're surrounding yourself with really good people that are lifting you up. You're reaching out and making those connections. They help encourage you to put that one foot in front of the other. You know, when things start to get really bad, you make a phone call to your friend, they make you laugh, and all of a sudden that problem doesn't seem so big anymore. That connection piece is really huge. And then, you know, the whole well-being, where you said you work out 4 days a week. Well, you look at you and you're super fit, right? You're super strong. But what makes you even stronger is your practice of happiness and well-being. So you work out 4 days a week, but you work on yourself every single day. You put time, you know, every single day in your calendar of what makes Sarah happy. That mindfulness piece, which I think is critical. So we do have a FitFighter question.
Yeah.
How do you use the FitFighter device? Do you mainly use it for stretching and flexibility? Tell us what this amazing device that I'll leave on my shoulder. How does it work?
All right, you ready for this?
I'm ready. Oh, this is awesome.
We're about to get like an impromptu. So when we started, can you see me? Sort of.
Yeah.
So when we started, we literally, so I just have a 5-pound hose, but we literally would be practicing the body position where your core is strong and you're moving a piece of equipment like in your arms, and having a discussion about not relying on your upper body, but that everything comes from the core. So we would start with the literal movements that we do as firefighters, the overhead movements that we would do, we would come like forward and back, because this is constantly a way that you're pulling hose off trucks. We would use this as a basic weighted implement so that I can mimic having a weight load on my body, and then mimic, the lower body that we need as we're, for those climbing, those like metabolic movements going up flights of stairs, like on compressed air. So the beginning of FitFighter, the 5 circuits: loaded movement, rotation, anti-rotation, metabolic conditioning, core and groundwork, and then grip strength. Those 5 circuits are still the fundamental principles of working with a steel hose. Now we can take that weight load and we can do like really cool, movements where we do like combination complexes of moving a weight load, around the body, doing like pull push maneuver, movements for athletes who need to develop certain types of strength. We can do like lateral agility work where we're doing like, footwork. We've got like a weight load. We can do that while we're like tossing the steel hose. So we can do like agility work and we're having to toss this in front of us. And it's like a bit of weight that's safe, for moving. We can do a lot of really cool rotational swing movements. So I do a lot of work where we're working grip strength and rotation at once, and you're having to decelerate. That like rotation deceleration movement we can do, which is also working on that proprioception.
Yeah, it's like a basketball pass right there.
Yeah,
think of the FitFighter as like a basketball in our hands, and the movements that you guys do out on the court, or really any sport that you're in. Because one of the questions is this just for a FitFighter, or will it work outside of that? And the truth of the matter is, I'm learning as I go. You have this really cool app now, right? This app that you're offering workouts in, and I've started doing those. And, a lot of the exercises that you can do with this, first of all, it's safe, right? So it doesn't scratch anything, and you can do a lot of different things with it. But yes, you can absolutely use this for sport movements that you would normally do like with actual weights. But this is it actually works more on the full body movements, right? So you're not just up and down like with a basketball. It's a lot of core movement. It's a lot of two-handed passes out. With this FitFighter, you can actually do those exercises safely. So she has to answer that question, she has a ton of resources. You can go to her website, she'll tell you more about it, but there is a million different exercises you can do with it, and that's why I love it so much. But what else do you want to share with that?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's what's been really cool is that the spirit of the original 5 circuit training program, the message there is both for firefighters and for athletes, field sport athletes, individual sports, whether it's stickball based or whether it's body based, only your individual self, like a gymnast or, a rower. The same founding principles and fundamentals of movement and strength are exactly the same. And that's what we realized was so powerful in taking that original movement program for firefighters and translating that into movement fundamentals for everybody else. And the fundamentals are the same: that load, rotation, core, metabolic conditioning, and grip strength. Those 5 circuits right there covers holistically your entire comprehensive fundamental movement program. And you can accomplish all of that by using this weight load from 5 to 40 pounds, adding the movements on, and then moving with that weight load, both on the body and then external to the body in grip positions that, range from close grip positions to wide grip positions and everything in between. So it's interesting because, I was not the first one who sort of said, hey, let's use this to train fill in the blank, basketball players. Let's use this to train postpartum women. Let's use this to train post-operative athletes for grip strength, building hand-eye coordination. That was trainers coming to me, physical therapists coming to me saying, hey, what is this thing that you're doing with firefighters? And, could we implement this? that's what's been really cool about the growth of FitFighter, and it's just going to keep growing and growing and growing as we figure out the applications and adaptations to all the different sports. So that's your FitFighter commercial.
Yeah, I mean, you have Olympians, really that are using your product. We have a lot of our people know Amber Gopper very well, and she's one of your lead trainers. If you see Amber, if you're following her on social media, or even go to your website or your app, she's on all of those devices doing incredible exercises that actually are great for athletes. So a lot of you know who Amber is. So you can definitely, kind of follow her with some of her workouts. But let's see, Amy just tuned in at 7:30, but we'll answer one more question, and then I want you to share with us kind of what you're going to leave us with today. But do you see any other equipment in addition to your FitFighter equipment when you work out? Do you use any other equipment in addition to the FitFighter when you work out?
Yeah. So it's, I mean, I know you probably aren't going to believe me when I say this, but I mostly these days work out with steel hoses and resistance bands on carabiners, because I can use the resistance band both as a band itself, and then I can also hook it onto the weight and use it as a weighted resistance implement. And honestly, between those two pieces of equipment, the other one I would say that I use as a third would be a small non-weighted rubber exercise ball. I'm blanking on, a kind of a small version of the big rubber balls with air in them. Mm-hmm. So I'll use that sometimes, especially for mobility work or warm up, joint warm ups and stuff. So the combination of the steel hose resistance band, that carabiner to stick it on there, be weighted resistance, and then that ball, that home kit, we can work out for years.
Well, I was just going to say, this is what you do at home, right? This is not, you're not going to a fitness center and having to do this. If you get these pieces of equipment, you can do all of this stuff at home. And that's, I've been indoors for 7 weeks now, where I haven't stepped outdoors and done a workout or anything. And I'm used to going to gyms and doing different things. And I've used, the FitFighter almost every other day. I take 2 days off. So I go 5 days, but 2 days off. And I'm literally using the FitFighter every other day. And what I've noticed about it as an athlete is that, you get focused on certain muscles and in certain motions. And what the FitFighter does, it eliminates just the ups and downs, and it doesn't put you in certain positions. It actually really makes you work your core and your back, which is everything for athletes. The core and the back is huge, to be able to be strong, in your performance. And I think a lot of athletes get stuck on, big biceps and triceps and all this other stuff, where the FitFighter does that as well in these movements that you're doing, but you're also, almost all of them, you're working your core, and you don't even know it until after the fact. But it's, I just, I love it, and I think it's great. And I'm so excited for what's ahead, especially you're getting into the athletic fields, and you're getting into high schools and really working with a lot of athletes. It's going to be pretty awesome. So what do you have special for our guests that are tuning in today?
Yeah, well, so we're gonna leave, but we're gonna do team cheer to finish up today. But then I'm gonna send an email, you guys, that has that. And I realized, Missy, what I forgot to put in that email was the Ready for Anything card that has the village on it, because I want everyone to do that exercise after. So we can add that into that email, or just send that along. So you guys can literally print out. I have a version of that doesn't have my village in it. It's got empty little house boxes, so that everybody can do that exercise and then laminate it for themselves, and then have that with you. And then I'm also did a special Beyond the Game discount code for steel hoses for anyone who wants to climb on board in the FitFighter family. I promise you'll never look back. And so we'll send that along by email, and then you can do it as all the Instagram and Facebook stuff and all my info, because my mailing list on the website. Love for you guys to just follow along, and it helps me out. It helps FitFighter for you to be talking about our principles of training and of readiness and practicing readiness that you guys have heard today. Like, that's what I want you to be communicating out there. Yes, I want you to tell everybody about steel hoses. That is like, that's great. But more importantly, I want you to start sharing, shouting from the rooftops, this idea about practicing readiness and about, overcoming obstacles and staying sharp and feeling ready. And those 5 principles that I gave you guys today to hang on to be practicing every day. Like, that's really what I want to get across out to the world. So please share that above, first and foremost. So, so let's finish off with a team cheer. So I've actually never done this over Zoom.
Should we all unmute ourselves? This will be the first time. Should we all unmute ourselves?
Everybody should unmute yourselves. Okay, so here's what we're going to do is I'm going to say, okay, oh my gosh, I have an idea. Okay, I'm going to say on 3, 1, 2, 3, okay? And then everybody who is in the alphabet from A to G, okay, is going to say ready. Everyone from G to P is going to say 4. And everyone from Q to Z is going to say anything. So we're going to do a team cheer, ready for anything, in 3 groups. And hopefully we've at least got 2 or 3 people.
Okay, so I try to unmute people. And
okay.
All right. So is this our first names that you're talking about?
Yeah, sure. First names. So that's good. I know I'll have one in the first because my mom's name is Anne. Okay, so in your loudest, most boisterous voice, after I say 1, 2, 3, so after the number 3, we're going to go ready for anything. It's going to be A to G, G to P, Q to Z, and in your loudest, boisterous voice. And I want you to just stand up from your chair and raise your arms above your head, wherever you are, and feel the spirit and the power of Missy West and Beyond the Game Academy. Okay, are we ready for it?
We are ready.
All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Ready!
4. Anything!
Yes!
I don't think it worked.
I did hear people, but I think we're all screaming at the same time.
Oh, you're supposed to go
ready.
In sequence. Let's try it one more time. Okay. So in sequence, you have ready has to be first. Hear that, it's 4. And then the last group is anything. Okay? Got it?
Got it.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. Ready!
Ready!
4.
Anything! Yes, it worked! We did it! Totally did it. All right, that's it. So,
Sarah, thank you so much for being with us. We're so excited that we know your schedule is super busy, and to take the time to be with us and share your knowledge and experience. We're just really, really grateful for that. So thank you so much for being with us. We're super excited about the FitFighter and to see where it takes all of us.